We'll go ahead and get started at 3 o'clock. Not really an official meeting, more of a discussion, informative gathering, I think you'd say. Looks like we've got several municipalities represented here, got EMS, looks like Churchill, for example, and Mount Carmel. Really appreciate you guys coming down and meeting with us over this issue. Hopefully we'll have a couple more come in. So just to give everybody an overview of what we're looking at. So this is about Hawkins County EMS and forming a joint venture. We know that EMS nationwide are struggling, that they're closing every day, they're becoming incorporated into county government or municipality, and we just want to make sure we still provide that service here for Hawkins County. And we just want to talk about what we need to do moving forward to get this going. This is by no means today we're not doing anything regarding funding. We're not going to be asking for anything today. We're not making any decisions. But us on the county commission and the county legislative body, we're not going to need a vote today. This is just talk about it, get the ball rolling, see what we can do moving forward and work together. I know Jason, you had talked about getting Dan Wheely on the phone.
I'm waiting to see if he's going to join.
Okay. Dan Wheely is with Washington County, Hawkins City EMS. He went through this process before the joint venture, so he can provide some insight on what we need to do, plus some things we need to look at. So in the meantime, Mark, you want to go ahead and pass these out?
We can.
Well, let's before we do that, I know there's several people here that I didn't know. Would you all everybody care to introduce themselves in the audience? We know each other up here.
They may not know.
Well, we can all introduce ourselves. So I guess we can start in the back, move forward, or however you all want to do it. So.
I'm Jim Stables, Town Mount Farm.
Are you city reporter, Jim?
I'm actually the city manager.
City manager, okay. And from Jason.
Jason Merrill, EMSG.
Well, Davis.
Warren.
Chad Mosley, Director of Public Safety for City of Churchill.
Kimberly Dobbs, City Recorder, City of Churchill.
John Miller, Hawkins County, my director.
Yeah.
We've got Anna with Kingsport Time News and Jeff with Rogersville Review. Ms. Sue, would you bring us off up here?
Sybil Von Trent, Commissioner First District.
Marky Witt, Hawkins County Mayor.
Josh Dillon, Commissioner, District 4.
Robbie Palmer, Commissioner, District 7.
Danny Alves, District 3. Larry Clance, District 6.
Chad Britton, District 4.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and hand these out. What I'm getting ready to hand out is a proposed guidelines for Hawkins County EMS Joint Venture. Some things to put together. This is not set in stone. This is just, we'll start talking about it and we can adapt. We can change it, strike it out, throw it away, whatever we need to do. This is just something to start talking about. So, and then the other one is the TCA code. So I'm going to pass these around. Just we'll make them around the room. And I'll bring some back there to you guys. Yeah, yeah.
We'll get one when everybody else gets one, I guess.
We can get it after.
There's 15 people and I've made 15.
I can go by and order too.
Yeah. Gotta be in it to win it, boy. Dollar and a dream.
Jason, would you want to lead us off, before we get talking about this right here, what we're handing out, you want to lead us off and give us a PCRS, how it, joint venture, how it benefits from PCRS standpoint, how it benefits EMS as a whole, what it opens you up to, and what it would do for your organization?
I'm watching you say what they are.
Okay.
Say what we're doing.
Yeah, you can play it.
We started talking about the potential of joint venture, quasi-governmental agreement, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. It was also one of the options that the exploratory committee had provided to the county commission 8 years ago, something like that. So basically the benefit for a joint venture or quasi-governmental agreement is, one, it opens up our employees to the availability of the TCRS retirement system. Almost every service surrounding us has that benefit for its employees. It's one of the highest sought retirement systems in the nation, which makes it extremely hard to get into it as well. You have to meet certain criteria. So it makes it difficult for, say, an employee in a surrounding county, if they're not happy there, to come here to work. So one, it provides a better retirement system for our employees. Also, it would help, I believe, with recruitment as well as the retention side of it. Speaking with Dan, trying to figure out what all the benefits were before. Another thing is we're able to get better pricing for vehicle insurance, health insurance, stuff like that, which would lower our operating expenses, which overall lowers our budget. And also it provides more governmental oversight of the service. And granted, anybody here can come in and ask for anything as far as the operational side, but it would allow each, whether county or city or whatever, to have a actual board position on the board of directors for EMS to, in essence, have a voice of governing the agency as well. I know I'm missing some things. I was hoping Mr. Wheelie would be available to discuss that.
The challenge, and excuse me for butting in, but the challenge, TCRS is not an automatic thing. You know, I talked to them several months ago about what it would take. And one of the first couple of things they wanted us to work on was to make sure we've got a 501c3 organization that, you know, is dedicated specifically for this purpose. Now, whether we keep what we've got or have to go to another one, that would be something that TCRS would probably make us decide. But they want at least a big majority of the board to be government representatives. And that's because it's a government retirement plan. They want government control of it. And, you know, they'd like to have a complete board made up of government folks, but I don't think that's possible. So, you know, we put in this handout what probably would work for them. I'm not saying it's going to, because we have to go back to them and then the TCRS board has to approve us. It's not an easy process. And they meet once a quarter and we have to catch them at the right time and have the right stuff. So that's kind of what I wanted to add.
Chief Willie just texted and said that he's not going to be able to join in on the call.
Okay.
He's still teaching a class, so.
In this handout provided while we're going along right here. So these, so looking right here on the board of directors, like the mayor said, this is going to be more of a board of directors with government control. And I say government control, everybody has a representation. County commission be 3 members, including the county mayor, 1 newly elected commissioner, and 1 resident of the county. Town of Rogersville, 2 members, including the town mayor, 4 his or her designee, or a duly elected alderman, and then the same thing for Bulls Gap, Circle Old Churchill, and Mount Carmel. CEO of Hawkins County Memorial Hospital, the appointed medical director of the operation, and then board members shall serve a term of 3 years. The initial appointee will serve the following terms. And then on the back, It breaks that down. It'd be a 15-member board, so it'd be an odd number, so you should never have a tie vote. So, one of the questions that I've heard, well, what are we gonna do if EMS needs money? Who's gonna pay for it? Who's gonna fund this? Ideally, the board addresses that before it gets to the point of having to pull from any kind of tax dollars or anything like that. You know, look and see what the problem is, handle it within the board, and if it can't be handled there, then we all have an agreement where we are paying a percentage. And that percentage breaks down on the back of the TCA page by population, with the Hawkins County government covering 74.1% of that budget. Then it breaks down per population percentage. That's just, and that's a TCA, I guess, Mark, you'd say it's a formula they.
Well, it's a formula that they created for really a committee we already have, the Joint Economic and Community Development Board, which meets once a quarter, which includes representatives from all municipalities and a lot of education, Chamber of Commerce, TCAT, Industrial Development Board, and several others. But what's important there is the section that I bolded in G1. The boards will be funded by participating governments. Formula for determining the amount of funds basically is that you take the census figure for the county and the last census figure for each one of the cities, add them all together, and then make your percentages out of them, and that's what you see on the back page. County itself, 74.14%, and I had no intention of ever, and the rumor's been around that I'm intending to have the municipalities pay for all this. That is not true, not at all true. It's been spread, I know it was spread at the Churchill BMA meeting, but that is not the truth.
And that idea was ever floated around by public safety?
No. We feel like everybody can take a share. We don't have to necessarily, and this is up for discussion too, we don't necessarily have to have money up front. And the county can get this kicked off for this year. If you take everything the county gave EMS last year, it's nearly $1 million worth of equipment and donations. 2 trucks, Wayne program, your regular donation, your baby dough money.
It's hard for me to,
I
I
know.
have a different fiscal year. So
Yeah, I know. But in our fiscal year, we've provided 2 trucks, $300,000 worth of baby dough money, the money for Wayne's program, and your regular donation. I talked to Eric, it's close to $1 million, in material and donations. So, we're not slacking on this. We're trying to keep them afloat, but we need some help. County taxes are what they are, and I know city taxes are what they are too. But if we could spread the load a little bit, it wouldn't be so burdensome on one organization. Now, to say again what Robbie said, if we have representatives from each of the municipalities on that board, you will hear about why the money's needed and maybe do something else about it rather than make another contribution. But you'll have input into what the organization does. And I think that's key. I was talking earlier that if your municipality doesn't want to participate, then, probably you shouldn't have a seat on the board, because you're not gonna have any say so if you don't have any skin in the game. I know that's harsh, but that's kind of the way it goes, but.
And that's the biggest thing. We're all in the same county. I know we're different municipalities, different parts of the county. When I was first chairman of the public safety, when I first appointed, I wanted to make sure, I don't care what organization you're with, I don't care who you represent, I just want to work together. Because Bull's Gap may help Churchill may help Mooresburg may help Tacoma. It's just, we're all in one county. It's hard everywhere right now, especially us being a rural county. We just want to make sure we provide what our citizens are going to need. If we do not, I don't want to ever have to get to the point where we have zero ambulance coverage in Hawkins County. Hawkins County is a large county, and with our surrounding counties having the same, if not more, call volume, I don't know what that would look like if we had to rely on Greene County, Hamlin County, and Sullivan County to help shoulder some of the burden. I don't know. You would have detrimental impacts to the citizens in Rogersville, Rogersville, and every one of our municipalities and our districts. We just want to make sure we have a sustainability plan and a continuous service with EMS.
And we are taking into consideration Churchill and Mount Carmel, are to give us a place to put trucks. But, if we can get, Seguansville back on the board, I know Seguansville was kind of upset about pulling out of there. If we get them back on the board and figure out a way to do it, we may have a station there. But granted, trucks that are in those stations don't serve just that area. They serve all of Hawkins County, right, Jason?
That is correct.
Because you'll see one every once in a while at Hope Church, centrally located to get anywhere in the county as quick as they can. They do a great job at response time. What's the response time then? 12 minutes?
It's 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Something.
12 minutes. So, that's going well. But with the population growing and more houses being built and more folks moving in, it's gonna start getting a little hairy here pretty quick.
Let me ask a question. So these percentages and what the municipalities and the county will be on the hook for. So, that number, we're still gonna be billing for services. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's assumed that EMS would be a self-supporting organization. And, if we could do something with billing companies that are dragging their feet and, Medicare reimbursements aren't what they're supposed to be, insurance are, their reimbursements aren't what they're supposed to be. But, if we can do this, they may have a better shot at grants and things like that to roll some more money in there. But we would assume that they can get as close as they can to being self-sustaining.
Okay. So then you would have, currently your only revenue source is patient billing. Is that correct? So, and donations, right, from the county or whatnot, and from the different cities that may give things. So we would still be billing for services, I guess, those rates would be set by the board, but ultimately by.
The rates would probably be set by,
Yeah, you can charge $3,000 to transport you from here to Hawkins County, which is 2 miles maybe.
Yeah.
they're not gonna pay.
They're gonna pay what they.
Correct. Okay. Got it.
And their payments, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but their payments, most of the time, don't even cover the expenses that EMS puts in the alcohol.
So basically it would be, the patient billing, the receivables from that, and then any grants you could receive, and then that minus the expenses, and then if there is, a deficit, it will be divided according to this.
Right, if it's
Is this what
needed
we
and that's
propose?
decided by the board, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've got a question along with this, and I think I know the answer, but just for clarification, they're part of Kingsport is in Hawkins County. Kingsport's not listed. I don't know if their fire department runs EMS or if they contract with Sullivan County.
Fire department runs EMS in there, and they run first response. Sullivan County runs inside the city. That's the way it's set up.
I was just
So they're
get that on the record for clarification.
Yeah, but these guys, the EMS, they'll end up running some calls in there also. There's a couple areas right there, right outside the city. You have to go through the city or up on the hill to get out in a couple places up there. You know where I'm talking about because you've been there. So, yeah, it's a mess, a little bit on that side, but yeah.
And keep in mind also, EMS is trying to do their part also. We just went to Nashville, the EMS on Hill. It has been addressed with almost every state representative, everybody down there, that reimbursement ideas, the big issues, and they're doing what Shane we explained that state mandates is causing local governments more money.
Yeah.
And they are trying to address that statewide, not just, so just want to say we are pitching in to try to do everything we can.
And I think in subsequent years, we'll have a better chance of getting some state money and maybe some federal money, you know, if that works out. But right now, all that money, I've tried to get a water line up in Beach Creek, and that was granted and then taken away due to, you know, what they're having to spend on disaster relief from Helene. So all the money basically that's available is going toward disaster recovery right now. And I hope, you know, that never happens again, and we can finally get back on the track of getting some state money.
Jason, currently, on the billing aspect of it, it's outsourced.
Yes, sir.
If this was to come about, we could bill within this office, couldn't we, Mayor? That would be a cost saver, I think.
I don't think it would be. I think it would actually cost you more.
What are you currently paying?
It's a percentage, it's 4.75%.
Was it like $90,000?
Actually, if you calculate 4 million in revenue, a little over 4 million in revenue, it's more on the lines of about 200,000, 250,000.
That they're paying for the billing service? Well, how do you figure it would cost more?
Well, you have to factor in, you have to have compliance officers as well, and a certified biller. Certified biller is not cheap at all. They have to know all these ICD-10 codes to bill it correctly, HIPAA compliance. You're probably looking at 4 to 5 employees just to do billing.
I don't understand that.
Well, it's the compliance things, Danny. It's the, you know, everything has to be coded correctly. Everything has to be chased down several times, and it takes a lot of folks to do that with the volume that they're producing.
And truly, that will be a decision made by the board.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely look at it, see what happens, but, you know, we I didn't get it. Siri decided to talk to. I mean, I don't think you ever.
You're being monitored.
Shut you up. You know, we could definitely study that and see what would happen.
Well, do they do collection activities too? So they do all the percentage collection, they do like if there was co-insurance and things like that, yeah.
They follow up on everything.
Yeah.
Full county does it all.
And it's all contingent, you don't pay anything up front. They only pay on what they collect.
Correct.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
What's
sir.
your collection rate?
About 40-45% is the collection rate of what we do.
All right, thank you.
Is that a standard number? What's the national average? I mean, do we even know that?
I don't have that on me.
So currently, you said that your funding source is primarily the county.
No, it's
The with the donation that you get primarily from the county, how much would you say a percentage of that is your, like, goes into your revenue or your, like, overall budget?
For operating?
Yeah.
How much of the county contribution goes into?
There you go. That's what I was trying to say.
100%.
Okay. If this goes into effect, what would that be? Would this baseline percentage go into effect of what we're currently giving EMS, or like, are we taking that off the top and dividing that cost up annually? Or would that be if it needs an additional revenue stream to stay current?
Be more like if it would need an additional revenue stream, but again, if there's representatives from everybody that's kicking in dollars on this, then, you know, we can decide, have more of a say as to what's going on financially.
So it's just, basically, if they need $400,000 more dollars to get through their fiscal year, then the 400,000 will be divided by the six municipalities, Hawkins County, and then the 5 municipalities, with us shouldering 74% of that cost.
So the current contribution would stay the same that we're doing.
Well, no, that's just an example. If it needed 400,000.
So what I'm asking is, annually, the county gives a current contribution to EMS, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be on top of this, or we're dividing now that contribution?
No. That's part of our 7-something% and the start of every year. And we wouldn't really change much what the county is doing.
This could be anything extra at the end of the year.
So if we're giving them if the county's giving them $500,000, which I think is somewhere in the neighborhood of what we did last year, is that right, Jason?
Yeah,
3, 4, 5. Yeah, we've got 500,000 cash. So if the county's already subsidizing $500,000, we would say, continue doing that, and then at the end of the year, if it runs over, we pick up 75%, 74% of the tab, and then the others.
Right. Up for discussion with the board. You know, I'm not saying we're going to send a bill to everybody for whatever they owe. But, you know, it would be a discussion. Precise national EMS collection rate isn't readily available, but studies suggest EMS providers face challenges in fully recouping costs, with an estimated 13.3% of transports resulting in uncompensated care. So we're a little behind the curve, but still, there's all of them are having trouble collecting.
And I believe there's some state legislation trying to push through to mandate a minimum.
For Medicaid.
percentage. Yeah,
But for Medicaid right now, there's also some others that they're trying to get some leverage with to bring all insurance providers up. Medicare done a study too, to see where their rates fall as far as truly reimbursing EMS services adequately. Those surveys were submitted in 2022, 2023, but no reports come out on that yet. I feel that Medicare felt like there was an issue as far as the rate, but obviously they're constrained to what they're allowed. So I think they were trying to get that study in to show that even Medicare isn't truly reimbursing at the appropriate levels with the inflation that everyone is seeing.
one of the benefits of TCRS, like Mayor said, this opens up so much opportunity for federal grants.
Yes.
That right now we don't have
So-
options in pocket.
So we're only eligible for anything that's for nonprofits or 501c3s of that nature. Any municipality or governmental grants, there are very few and far between that we are actually eligible for. So, yes, it would open us up to more grant opportunities to help offset the budget for capital expenditures, such as equipment or animal.
And that's what I was getting ready to say, sound like some of these grants would be what we have paid for. And TCRS helps you retain employees and recruit for future employees.
Yes.
Jason, didn't we switch companies 2 or 3 years ago to get a better return?
On billing?
Yes.
Yes, so usually about every 3 years, every billing company signs an agreement for 3 years. And usually at those 3 years, that's when you look for a new one. And that's what we just done September-ish is when we switched to our newest one. So every 3 years, that's reevaluated based on the performance and based on the revenue that they're bringing us in. So we did just switch, like I said, in September to another new one, which actually dropped our rate from 5.9% to 4.7%.
And before, it was even bigger than that. I mean,
Yes.
you got a much better rate like 3 years ago than you had previously had.
Yes.
I remember you coming and discussing that.
Yes.
Thank you. So now it's what?
4.7.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So if I understand correctly. Just making sure that we're all clear. So county is going, we're not asking for any money up front from any municipality.
No.
We're not expecting any money from any city in the county up front.
We're gonna get them started this year, get that board in place, and then go from there. That's my idea. Now, you know, but that's subject to whatever y'all think. I'm not the one that's, you know, saying this is what it's gonna be.
Of course, yeah. So we're not asking for anything up front. The county's still going to front the similar contribution that we have in times past. We're asking the municipalities to sign on that if there were an overage, there would be or a shortage, of funds at the end of the year, that they would sign on to pay this percentage that we have laid out here.
Right.
And in exchange, you get a board position where they have, say, two positions on the board. In exchange for that. And then the greatest thing we all get in exchange is a stable ambulance service, right? Because that helps everybody. And even at the end of the day, if the county's given $500,000 in cash in a donation, and then there ends up being a, $100,000 shortfall at the end of the year, the county's going to throw in another $7,000, right? We're still, I just want to make that very clear. The county is bearing the overwhelming majority of helping the organization. We're just asking for some financial surety on the back end, and not even asking to do it blindly.
Right.
Because you have say on the board.
And it may be the shortage is, you're using your figure, 100,000. The board may decide, hey, we're gonna make up 50,000 of that, or 75 of that, or 25 of that.
Yeah.
And, that's the figure that would be spread out among everybody that's involved.
Yeah. Just want to make sure we're clear because, listen, we know it's a county of, there's a whisper campaign that goes all over the county. And phones will start ringing and they'll be saying, oh, the city's got to pay this much and the county's backing out of the ambulance service. There'll be all kinds of stuff said.
That's already being said.
Of course. So I want to make sure that everybody in this room and those watching online are very clear on what we're asking for in terms of contributions from the city. So.
And I know a lot, even municipalities are going to have to take this back to their BMAs, et cetera, things like that. But if you see things in there that you'd like to see changed and discussed, we can do that. Take this home and read it, look over it. If there's something you need to change, you call Robbie, you can call me, we can change it and move forward with it, as soon as possible because, it has grown for a couple of years. And, I'll take responsibility for part of that part because I had back surgery and all that kind of thing. But I think this is pointing us in the right direction.
And this is just like I said at the beginning, this is a rough draft. This is just to get the conversation started, take it back to your BMAs, say, hey, this is what has been presented to get started. What do you like about it? What do you don't like about it? And we're going to have to talk about it.
I think some figures would help, Robbie.
Okay.
I mean, you're asking municipalities to back a business that we know nothing about what's owed, what's collected, what goes out. I think you guys need to provide the municipalities a budget and see where they're at in it so we can have something go on. Because this just seems insane to, like I say, we'll back y'all 10% when we don't even know what
It's a good point.
where they're spending the money.
And it's good to see the budget for the last
Right.
couple of years to see what's been spent on what, and if there's anything in the budget you can play with first, and let the municipalities know what they could be up against, because
Well, the
we
thing
have
that-
to do budgets too.
The thing about the budget, we don't control the budget because it's not a county, it's not a.
Maybe it should be.
I
Think you're
understand.
leaning
Well,
toward the right way.
Any business should have some kind of budget paperwork, knowing what their revenues versus expenses are.
Which we do have.
And
We
that,
have,
yeah, so
I have no problem sharing that information.
that's,
But
Whatsoever.
it's
as
just
we
it's
also
something to
said
see.
at the beginning, they are their own, they are separate from the county. They bear the county name, but it's not a county operated entity. What we're trying to get to is to maintain a service. Now, if we all agree, say, hey, we all agree we have to have a service like this in the county, we need to all work together, then this organization would be marketed, I believe you said the old 501c3 would be dissolved and then formulated a new one.
If that's what TCRS requires, yes.
But I do agree that we do need to operate a full budget, but we can only provide what we have given from the county.
Well, but Jason said he'll provide financial.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem.
Yeah.
That's an understandable concern.
Yeah.
And this is not something we're wanting to rush into by no means. We want to at least have this meeting to get the conversation started. Because we don't want to have to sit here and say, well, everybody left the room pissed off and, not wanting to talk about anything. And then 6 months later, we don't have an EMS service. We want to get the conversation started to say, well, 3, 4, 5 months from now, we've all come to an agreement with the budget. We said, hey, this is what we can work with. We can work together on it, and having a say on the board, which is made up of all the municipalities. Any problem like that should be addressed before it ever get to the point of any tax dollars from any municipality or any county to be put toward it.
And once we get something like this semi-firmed up, then I need to go back to TCRS and show them what we're doing and see if they think it's gonna fly. I mean, their board meets, like I said, once every quarter, and they're tight. They're the best retirement plan in the country right now, and they just don't let anybody in there.
Well, and the current EMS board would be dissolved. It would go back to, it'd be the board that was presented. Equal representation plus one county one look like a county at large, resident of the county at large. And that's where the board, all the municipalities, and the CEO, the hospital, medical director, and the board members are gonna have that say-so and say, hey, we could see some shortfalls in this budget, we're gonna address this now before it ever gets to the point of everybody having to put money toward it. So we're already the county still put their money toward it, the charitable contribution, it just put any further money to it.
See, there's 4 or 5 members on the current board that would fit this framework.
Yeah. But I do understand what you're saying, that you need to see numbers you present. The numbers that you can present right now, they, as presented, could be changed around. This is what we would be expected to pay if it ever came to the point we had to make up a difference. But the difference should be addressed by the board prior to getting to that point. We're not saying every year you're going to pay, Churchill's going to pay 9.15%. May not even have to pay it for 5 years in a row, depending on how well the board operates an organization.
What you're getting to, we don't know what kind of debt's owed or anything either going into it.
Well, I think that's a fair request. That's what I'm getting at. Jason will provide all that, and then.
There's nothing.
There's more to the conversation than just the budget, and that's the operational management of the program, the standards of cover that are established, and all of this. So those of you that don't know me, I retired after 40 years of fire rescue and EMS transport and have a great deal of knowledge in this field. One of the challenges is if you don't know what target you're shooting at, you'll never hit it. And that's part of the problem sometimes is we knee-jerk react to things instead of planning it. Municipal budgets in general, county, state, city, all of them, we take a lump sum of money and figure out what we can spend it on, as opposed to building a business operation that is sustainable. So that's the other part of him being a separate entity that he can and should do, and is probably doing as a standard. When there's an additional X amount of percentage of people populating this area, it will create a service demand for an additional unit. So when we start talking about those things as a general, there's areas of the county that are going to grow, there's areas of the county that may not grow. And that spread, the difficulty we have is we're a rural setting. So that's the other challenge from my perspective, but not having books opened about operation and all that causes me to have pause. There's one other thing, and that is under TCA, the county is responsible for either providing or having provided EMS in the area. The residents of the cities are already paying county taxes on top of city taxes. And what this, now I'm gonna tell you, because I got residents calling me, screaming at me about this right now, and they're feeling like it'd be a double taxation situation for them. So I'm gonna just be brutally honest and bring that up as a discussion point. I'm sure you all have thought of that.
We've talked about it.
So in the process of this, I get that it's 74%, but if you look at the municipalities that are represented, those populations are already paying county taxes for the service that they expect to be provided. So that's the
Well, you know, the way I look at it, yes, it may be double taxation, but the need for funding is there, and whether or not we get it from city taxes or county taxes, or some other means, we're gonna have to get it. So, you know, they may end up paying it through county taxes, or, you know, there's lots of different.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is if you have to lift your lid, that makes sense, because and this is you as a body defining what essential services are and funding them appropriately to go forward. That's what I'll say is, you know, each one of us as municipalities have to do that same thing, because our boards establish what our essential services are that we provide to our citizens and such. And as such, we have to build our budget around how we fund that operation.
Right.
So I just want
So
to.
if something like this flies, John, make sure that he's on this board.
Well, it also sounds like TCRS, the only sure way that they get in it is they become part of county government. So what's the holdup on that?
Well, that's what we're doing.
They're still not going to be county employees.
What he's saying is making a true
Right,
county
right.
service.
Why can they not?
The county employees, according to TCRS folks, don't matter as much as the board management of that, because the government officials would have control over what the employees own.
Correct, but I'm saying the guaranteed fact is they become a county service.
Absolutely, at what expense?
Yeah.
Well,
Millions.
is it?
Right.
I don't know about that.
Well, it would. I think a fair-minded person could look at it and say it would take millions of dollars to build an apparatus
Infrastructure's
across the
here.
county.
It's already here,
No, we don't own it.
okay?
So
It's not a possibility.
I mean, the
Yes.
possibility's there, we'd have to give
Right.
like $7 million in funds, and we know what that's gonna come to.
Right.
But we
This is
don't
why the
own
operational plans are so important to know.
it. Yeah, well, and that's why we're having, this is the first meeting.
Right.
For 2 years, we've been talking about this, and I'm gonna be very blunt. For 2 years, we've talked about this, and this is the first time I felt like we've actually gotten people to sit down and have the discussion. So, this is the first meeting. We've got this is not just gonna be a one and done meeting. We've got
Right.
meetings upon meetings to talk about this and build upon, and that's why I don't want someone to jump ship just because they don't like what it sounds like right now. None of this is set in stone. This is just, we need to have something, it's that sitting here and twiddling our thumbs, well, what are we gonna do? This is something we can at least start with and go from there. If your boards have questions, then get with me, Mark, Jason, and say, hey, this is what we've got questions about, we wanna see this first. Then we start bringing all the pieces together. It's like working a jigsaw puzzle. You don't sit down in one night and do it all in one night. You work on it, come back, look at it again, work on it again. So this is just I just want to have to start the discussion, take it back to your boards, say, hey, this is what the initial discussion was. We expressed some concerns to start with. They're going to get us the information, and we can go back and do it again. That's going to be very important for us to communicate through all this. Not just, I don't like how this sounds, I'm not going back to our meeting again.
And it's not, complete movement toward that, but the last few trucks that we bought for them, we've put liens on, so, if something happens, we've got to at least start toward what we need to do.
Right.
A couple of, nothing, if they were, worst case scenario, if EMS were to fold tomorrow, we'd still have to put probably millions of dollars into it, because we don't have the property, we don't have, not all the equipment, some of the equipment has rolled off of that lien, the amount of time that we bought from 5-6 years ago.
Mutual aid would have to kick in for a good while.
Yeah.
and everybody's already stressed. Their number of calls.
If mutual aid hadn't been kicked in for a year, I don't know. I
It's
don't know.
basically what happened in Unicoi County when their ambulance service pulled out. And,
People will suffer from it. I mean, it will be you have a cardiac arrest and you're wrongful. Sullivan County may be there, Greene County may be there in 30 to 40 minutes. Sullivan County may be all tied up to the hospital. Then, I mean, that's,
it's a situation that needs a lot of different looks and, you know, what we're gonna do.
yeah.
That should be a plan that's on your shelf though. And what I'll tell you is the only way you can address that mutual aid situation is you're probably gonna end up having to privatize. Because that's the only people that would be able to come in here immediately, hit the ground running, and run it like a business operation where they can tell you how much it's gonna cost, how much it's gonna cost you, how much it's gonna cost the resident, those types of
Yeah,
things.
well, that's the thing, we wanna try to avoid having to get to that point.
And I understand that, that's why I'm bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Jamie, you got a comment on that?
I think within hours, the phone would start ringing bills wise, if we were reaching out to other counties to provide their tax dollars, to provide a service within the county.
Mm-hmm.
I think your phone would be ringing within hours of a billing scenario.
Yeah,
I can't answer that for sure, we'd have to have a meeting with everybody. but
right.
Everybody's taxed to the limit.
May I
Tough
ask,
world.
may I ask something about your, the EMS budget there? So currently with the revenues coming in, does it take care of all your payroll without any problems?
Just to take care of the payroll, yes.
And then would it take care of the extra compensation for the TCRS? That's an extra, because that's an extra.
I can't get answers to that of what it would.
They don't know what their TCR percentage would be yet.
Okay,
That's like the
but to
same-
have an idea, I mean, give any kind of idea, off the number of employees.
I've not been given any information of how to calculate that.
Well, they don't calculate it until they tell you that they're looking at having it, so it's one of those chasing your tail kind of things.
More than likely, it's gonna be a hybrid system in there.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Yep, but it's better than nothing.
Oh, yeah, but it'll be a contribution type deal, right? Employee up to 3% or 2%, and the county matches that. That's what basically the hybrid system works out as.
Mayor, can you coordinate with Jason and make sure we get what financial statements that they're
Yeah.
needing?
Yeah,
Because that is a very fair concern,
I'll
our
get
questions are very valid.
at the very latest at the next board meeting, because I'll be there.
Yeah, I think we do need to get them that.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, you were about to give some information on Unicoi. I think you might have gotten.
Oh, Unicoi had what, a private ambulance service? Somebody already knows.
They had a private service, and then that private service went out.
Pulled out.
And Washington County had to come in and cover for so
Yeah.
long, then the,
So we'll back
Made their
back
own.
up there just a second.
I worked
Private
Yeah,
service.
I worked for Quality Care back in the early nineties, and Unicoi County had the Unicoi County Ambulance Authority at that time. They had IV techs that was working just, advanced that skill, and they were making more than most of the paramedics in the region at that time in the early nineties. And we took it over from Quality Care when I was there.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Jason comment, but what happened is Unicoi County, Unicoi City, and Irwin went together on the joint venture, sort of like what we're trying to do. Jason, would you?
So with Unicoi County, that private service was there, they approached the county and said, this is the X amount of dollars we have to have to continue operation. And when they voted no against it, they let that happen.
That was,
So that's how that works. I don't care to go on record saying that I've worked for a company like that before. And I'm just being honest, when you get into a private for-profit, that's what they're there for, is for-profit. It's nothing else.
If it ain't there, they ain't there.
And they'll be sitting right here saying it's this amount or.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I do, a couple things I'd like to address. I don't want this to come out like it has already, amongst our employees, that we're closing our doors or we're fixing to close our doors, because I've already been asked by employees of some statements that have been made or misunderstood or something along those lines. It's, like I said in the meeting, if we had a motor blow today on a truck, I don't know that we could take $25,000 or $30,000 out of our budget to put a new motor in. We're able to sustain and continue operations just like we are right now, but it's the what ifs is what I mean by, as in, we're tight right now, or we're struggling right now. That's my definition. I may not have portrayed it the right way, or may have came out wrong, but that's where we're at. It's not that, well, I'm gonna call you next week and say, here's the keys.
Well, that's what we understand, too. This is a what if, worst case scenario were to happen. We're close, but what if it got to that point? And we want to try to be proactive and prevent from ever getting to that.
I agree.
I can think for myself, and I believe I can think for the rest of the commission, when we ask questions like that, or we make statements like that. You know, what if something were to happen? Where do we stand? What do we have left? So.
Who's currently on the board of EMS? I mean, how many members is it?
Was it 9?
And you're one of them?
Yeah.
And, because I know there was a restructure or something like that.
Yeah, we restructured once, but this may require another one. We'll just have to see what TCRA. Me, Dr. Testerman, Hunter Hamilton. We've got a representative, or had a representative, and had a new representative from Churchill, correct? Because she had to go out for knee surgery. We've got a representative that works with, was it Washington County?
Yes.
Buildings and things like that. We've got her. We've got John Renee and
Lynn Campbell.
Lynn Campbell. He's 911. And John
Andrew.
Yeah.
Hawkins County.
Okay, thank you.
It's not a bad board. It's just not allowing government to have a say in it.
Right.
I think, we've got a good board now, but I think this could be a whole lot better.
Is getting this set up dependent on kind of like all or nothing in regards to municipalities? Like, do you have to have everybody on board with it for it to proceed, or
No.
is there a minimum?
Well, the way I understand it, no, because my understanding, even Rogersville County still has a county that just came on this year, or this past year, one of the two.
Yeah, now, we're not requiring all 5 to jump in. But if you don't jump in, then there's no sense in putting anybody on the board, because you don't have any stake in it.
I agree with that. I just wondering, like, if one of the municipalities out of the 5 decide not to, that doesn't like kill the whole deal. And that's what I was basically.
Who decides that, Mark? Like, I guess, is it the county commission that would restructure this board, or would it be the current EMS board and decides who gets a spot on the board? Who decides that?
Well, from what I've read, it should be a county commission appointed board.
Okay.
And I think that would be better. TCRS would like that a lot better too.
And with that said, Mayor, I think we need one commissioner per district on this board.
We can do that.
Why is the CEO of the hospital on here?
Well, they have a lot of interaction with EMS. If we need contact with BAPA, basically is what I'm saying, because a lot of these trucks spend a lot of time sitting in emergency rooms, and I think they have improved that some. We had a meeting with Alan Levine not too long ago, and I brought up some things about our hospital not being used to get to. Instead, they're going to other hospitals too far away and then discharging the patient right away. it's just a waste of time. So he was gonna look into that, I don't guess he ever got back.
Well, and I know just from the conversations that I've had, even though he's an employee of Ballard, there's a fine line he has to walk. Venturing in, putting on the Ballard hat and making a decision for EMS first and then my person.
Well, we just need a connection.
Yeah.
We could still keep it with 15 if we did the, one per district and you, and there's 5 municipalities. That would be 13 if we could still do, maybe the gentleman sitting back there, whoever the other two.
Well, he's from the municipality.
With which one?
I'm with Mount Carmel.
Okay. So we have Mount Carmel and Churchill, Rogersville. Is Rogersville here?
No.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing, and that's another thing, that we wanna look at and then does the board need to be, instead of 2 members of a mayor or an alderman, should it just be a member, default to the mayor or his or her designee?
What do you think about that, John? Would you rather have you and somebody else on the board, or your designee and somebody else to have 2 people, or would one suffice? Put you on the spot, you know.
Really, I mean. So just to make sure we're on the same page, just to declare a conflict on Mayor Mount Carmel, and I don't think that matters as much as it does the, I mean, to me, you're really putting 2 versus 1. I don't see that being that big of a factor. It's the idea, if you're gonna have 7 representing the commission, 1 from each town, and the idea of a selling point is you have representation on the board for municipalities, you really don't.
That's true.
You got county representation that's gonna tell the municipalities what we're doing and spend the municipalities' money.
Yeah, you're gonna have it.
So that's what I would have a problem with.
Yeah,
And,
you're gonna have it loaded toward the county.
right. It's the weighted seat.
Yeah. I like how it's set up now. That's up for discussion too. That way, you know, like you said, it's just not voted in one favor, one way or the other.
At the end of the day, every one of those municipality residents are county residents as well. So it serves no purpose for the municipalities. You know, we're all working towards the same goal at that end, but it's still it'll be much, from a municipality aspect, it'll be much easier with what we have than loading it up with 7 reps representing the commission for the county.
How many stations do y'all currently have?
5.
You have 5 stations? Yes. Okay, 2 of them are provided by 2 municipalities, right? You're rent-free. So, you know, I think we always leave that out, that we are already putting in a contribution, us and Mount Carmel.
Yeah, that's what the.
And think about that, is that gonna be added to the percentage here, or would that be part of the percentage that we would give?
Up for discussion. I mean, like I said, I don't have all the answers.
Well, it's just something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, if we're giving them a place to stay, but we can't be on the board because we're not gonna give up extra money, you know, that's, you know, just ask.
And, you know, we just have to talk about that and see. I don't know. What I really want everybody to know is I'm not putting the total burden of EMS on the municipalities. That's not true.
Yeah, what has been told is an absolute lie. And the individual that said that need to just, if he's not involved in this, need to just stay out of it. I'm being blunt. We're putting everything out here in the open. Jason's putting himself on the spot, Wayne's putting himself on the spot. They wanna see the EMS succeed in this county as much as I personally do, and much as I can speak from my public safety committee, the members that are here, and I feel confident saying that about any other elected officials sitting here. There's a lot of people in this county who wanna see everything that municipal government and county government do fail.
Well, I venture to say everybody in this county wants an ambulance to show up at their door when they need it.
Very true. And like that, well, you said everybody wants it to fail.
Well, I'm not saying there's a lot of people in this county that want to see everything that we try to do in the county or the municipality want to fail. But, I echo what Mark said. If I call 911, I want to have an EMS show up. And I don't want to have to be put in a position where if my family member needs EMS and I call 911, they say, I'm sorry, we don't have anybody. And I don't think anybody wants to be put in that spot.
Well, we don't want to, belabor this forever, drag this on. What I would suggest is take these back, kind of digest them, give us your thoughts, and any thoughts, fine. I mean, we're open. We'd like to know what you're thinking. And you can email me, call me, whatever, and try to work it into this plan, and we'll have to meet again and see where we can continue. And in the meantime, I'll check again with TCRS and see if their mind has been changed on anything.
I guess my question, I don't know the municipality board schedules. How much time would you need? I don't know when the next meeting is, what?
We all meet monthly, so.
They all have
Here
meeting every
here
month.
you are, we always have our budget passed.
When's your, I guess what I'm asking. when's
We're
your next-
third Tuesday of the month.
I'm starting my budget
Right.
beginning of next month.
Or fourth Thursday.
I've actually started it.
Everybody's into their
So we
budget.
think, if we think May, can we reconvene in May? Just get it
Too late
out
for us.
I'd rather.
Now, it'll be too late for us.
So we'll already
Everything
be
approved.
prepared
Yeah.
for our next, for our.
Yeah, we do
first
2
reading.
readings,
Well,
May and June,
I
and
guess,
we're done.
I'm not asking to come back with a number, just, we've addressed it to our boards. This is their concerns, this is what we talked about, this is what we're okay with, this is what we're not okay with, as far as what we presented. To bring ideas back, to continue the discussion.
You want to do that in April, you said?
I would rather do it in April.
We can make that work for, at least to bring back a consensus of what our board has to say on Mount Carmel. We can probably make that work in it for April.
Yeah, and just see what they're bringing forward and if they have any changes. I just want it to be acceptable to everybody, and we'll never get it completely that way, but
Like I said, we're not asking for you to go to your board and say, hey, they need a hard number, what you're gonna give, what you're not gonna do in April. We're just saying, take this back, bring it back and say, okay,
just a concept.
yes, just a concept, just what can we change, what do you wanna see different? In the meantime, Jason can, he knows what's been asked of him. He can get as much information as his board will. I'm assuming I'm speaking for your board.
Well, that's really not board.
It's not a board decision.
Okay, well, so far, I mean, you can get the information that they've asked for and.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
think our
all
biggest
on the
concern is because the smaller municipalities, making sure we don't have to raise taxes
Yeah.
just to assist. Because of course, the residents will not be happy.
Yeah.
And Chad, what was it you asked for earlier?
Financial, listing where they're at in their
We're
budget,
gonna
how
do
they've
that.
been finishing. I mean, like, we already know county's been giving money, and how much of that's needed to keep them going.
I think you asked how much debt you had.
Right, too.
And,
I have a question. Have you decided how much you're gonna ask for in the budget this year?
Yes, yeah, I've already had to submit my budget to the county.
What's that number gonna be?
That number is 700,000.
So it's 300,000 increase?
Yes.
Okay.
The other part of the financials is the billing and the collections is a huge consideration. So,
Billing collection, like.
Are y'all still running convalescent calls, or are you?
Yes.
You're still able to?
Yes.
so you're doing non-emergent with emergent.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. If you can break that out as well, so it will make sense.
Yeah.
You said billing and collection rates.
Correct. And total, if you give me backstory of the past couple of years, that'll give me a trend and a track to kind of understand. We came through some really bad times where y'all were the primary care providers during COVID, because nobody else is going out and nobody's going to the doctor. So we all, in the EMS field, became doctors, for lack of a better term, and not everybody gets transported, so there's no billing that's generated from that. So we're responding to a call, and there's no recuperation of expense i.e. gas, personnel, transport, whatever. There's no offset of that cost. So understanding, you know, the big picture of this for the business, that's what I was talking about, business op wise. I can look at budgets all day, but if I don't understand the operation, the budget means nothing.
And you said there'd be no business people. It's boring.
And that's 700,000, that was a 300,000 increase from last year.
Yes.
Chad, you asked for how much debt Hawkins County EMS have, and what were you asking about the convalescent?
Their percentages, you tell me those, and I'm assuming you collect on those, which, yeah, right, guaranteed.
That's what usually makes it go
Right.
black.
Is there any other questions from the municipalities and the commissioners that you want to know, at least have an answer to from before, or till the next meeting that we have about this? Do you have a certain question or information you all want to see to get the next part of the discussion started?
It's okay. You're involved with this just as much as the rest of us. This Eric Buchanan, he's our finance and budget director. That's right.
Mr. Bishop, is there anything that you have, any questions other than what has already been requested?
Nah, I'm good for right now. I know it'll be all right.
It's going to use the wait and see approach.
No,
Warren's familiar with a lot.
Warren's hiding and watching.
Well, this has been a good meeting.
Yeah, I think so.
I know we've been back and forth, it's been a good meeting, again, I appreciate municipalities that showed up. Just getting to this point is a win. Is there anybody else that has any questions or want to bring something to our attention right now? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys, and I guess
We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
You going to the chamber breakfast?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Where is it?
It's at the gas company. Industrial board's at the gas company too. Did you go to the one last month?